The millionaire was already laughing when he announced he would pay $50,000 to whoever could tame the furious horse. Not a single man dared to get close. But when a barefoot boy stepped out into the middle of the crowd, carrying in his eyes the same fear felt by those who have been abandoned many times, everyone turned to look at him. And the moment the horse, previously uncontrollable, lowered its head when it saw him, even the ranch hands froze, as if they had just recognized something no one there was prepared to see. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and tell us from which part of the world you're watching, because now I'm going to tell you everything. He's a lost cause! Hank Miller's voice cut through the heavy Wyoming heat like a crack of thunder. He stood in the middle of the ranch yard, a big man in a clean shirt, holding a thick stack of money high in the air. $50,000. That's what I'll pay to the man who can walk into that stall and calm my horse down. A group of cowboys shifted to their feet in the dust. Their faces were grim. They all looked toward the big red barn. From inside came a terrible sound. It was a loud, scared scream, followed by a solid asterisk thump asterisk as something heavy kicked wood. "Boss," said one man, taking off his hat, "it ain't about money. That horse, Midnight's plain gone wild." Hank's face was tight. A storm spooked him, just one bad storm. Now he's broken, and I don't keep broken things. He looked at the barn, his jaw hard. The unspoken meaning hung in the air. If no one could fix Midnight, the horse would have to be put down. Suddenly, a new cowboy, a big man from Texas named Roy, stepped forward. "I'll try it. I got away with mean horses." Hank just nodded, his eyes back on the barn. Roy took a long rope and walked to the barn doors. Everyone followed but kept a safe distance. Inside, in the last stall, was Midnight. He was a huge black horse, his coat wet with sweat. His eyes showed all white. He threw his head back and screamed again when he saw Roy. "Easy now, big fella," Roy said, his voice low. He moved slowly, his boots quiet on the straw. Midnight did not listen. He spun in his stall and kicked the back wall with his two back legs. The whole barn shook. Roy stopped. He tried to throw his rope to catch the horse's head. Midnight reared up. His big front hooves slashed the air so close to Roy's face that the man felt the wind of them. Roy stumbled back, falling into the straw. He scrambled away on his hands and knees. The horse kept screaming. Outside, Hank closed his eyes for a second. He looked at the other men. Anyone else? No one spoke. They just looked down. On the other side of the wooden fence, away from the cowboys, a boy watched. His name was Leo. He was 12 years old. He had walked the long, hot road from Bison Creek to see the famous ranch. His feet were bare and brown with dust. He did not look at the money in Hank's hand. He looked past the men, into the dark doorway of the barn. He listened to the sounds of the scared horse. He heard the fear in those screams. It was not an angry sound. It was a lonely sound. A woman stood near him. She was the deputy from town, Maria Gonzalez. She had come to make sure the crowd stayed calm. She noticed the boy. She saw how still he was, how his eyes were fixed on the barn. "That's a bad situation in there, Leo," she said quietly. Leo just nodded. He did not turn his head. "He's not bad," Leo said, his voice almost a whisper. "He's scared." Deputy Maria watched the boy. She knew who he was. The boy with no family who slept in the shed behind the diner. She had bought him a hot meal more than once. "Sounds like you know something about it," she said. Leo finally looked away from the barn, down at his own dirty feet. He didn't answer. He knew about being scared. He knew about feeling alone in a big, loud world. He knew the feeling of being trapped. Hank Miller's loud voice broke the quiet again. "That's it then? No one?" The crowd of people from town murmured. They started to turn away, talking about the wild horse and the $50,000 no one could win. Leo's eyes went back to the barn. He thought about the horse in the dark stall. He thought about the men who saw a problem or a prize, but not the heart beating inside. A deep feeling, hard and sure, settled in his own chest. He couldn't explain it. He just knew. He turned and started walking away from the ranch, back toward the long road. Deputy Maria watched him go. "Heading back to town, Leo?" she called. Leo glanced over his shoulder, not at her, but at the big barn one last time. "For now," he said softly. The sun was beginning to sink lower in the sky, painting everything in gold. The problem horse was still screaming. The rich man was still holding his money, and a quiet boy with nothing to his name walked down the dusty road, a new thought growing in his mind. He would come back tomorrow. He had to. The first light of morning was just a gray line under the door of the shed. Leo opened his eyes. He was on his thin blanket on the hard floor. He could still hear the horse's screams in his head. They had followed him all through his dreams. His stomach made a hungry sound. He got up and folded his blanket. He walked out into the cool, quiet air of early morning and went around to the front of the Bison Creek Diner. He sat on the wooden step to wait. After a while, the cook, Mr. Clay, opened the door. He was a large man with a kind face. He looked down at Leo. "You're here early," Mr. Clay said. "Yes, sir," Leo said. "I suppose you heard about the fuss out at the Big Sky yesterday," Mr. Clay said, stepping aside to let Leo in. "Whole town's talking about it." Leo nodded. He picked up the broom from the corner and started to sweep the clean floor. It was his morning job. He worked in silence for a few minutes. "They're going to kill that horse, you know," Mr. Clay said from behind the counter. He was cracking eggs into a big bowl. "Hank Miller doesn't have a use for things that don't work. It's a shame. Midnight was the finest horse in the whole state." The broom stopped moving in Leo's hands. He stared at the floor. "Did you see him?" Leo asked quietly. "Saw him last year at the county fair," Mr. Clay said. "Big, beautiful animal. Calm as anything. A storm did that to him. Just one bad storm." Leo started sweeping again, slower. He thought about the sound of thunder. He thought about being trapped and alone and so scared you couldn't think. "Maybe he just needs a quiet minute," Leo said, more to himself than to Mr. Clay. The cook laughed a soft laugh. "Son, the best cowboys in Wyoming have tried to give him a quiet minute. They've tried gentle words and they've tried strong ropes. That horse is past listening." Leo finished sweeping. "Mister." Clay put a plate on the counter. It had 2 eggs and a piece of toast on it. "Here you go. Eat up." "Thank you," Leo said. He climbed onto a stool and ate the food slowly, making it last. When he was done, he put the plate in the big sink. "You need anything else today?" Mr. Clay asked. Leo looked out the diner window. The sun was fully up now. He could see the road that led out of town, the same road that led to the ranch. "No, sir," Leo said. "Thank you for the breakfast." He walked out of the diner. He did not turn toward the shed. He stood on the dusty main street, looking at the open land beyond the last buildings. His feet were still bare. They were tough from walking everywhere. "You're thinking about going back out there?" The voice came from his left. Deputy Maria Gonzalez was leaning against the side of her parked police car, her arms crossed. She was watching him. Leo just looked at her. "It's a long walk for no reason," she said. "They're not having another show today. Hank Miller is probably making his decision right now. That's why I have to go," Leo said. Deputy Maria pushed off from the car and walked closer. She knelt down so she was closer to his height. Her voice was low and serious. "Leo, listen to me. That is a 2,000-pound animal that is terrified out of his mind. He could kill a man with one kick. What do you think you can do?" Leo met her eyes. His own eyes were very clear. "I can be quiet," he said. The deputy studied his face. She saw no joke there, no bravery, just a simple fact. She stood up with a sigh. "It's a free country. I can't stop you from walking. But you be smart, you hear me? You watch from the fence. You don't go near that barn. Promise me." Leo nodded. "I promise." He started walking. The pavement of the town street turned to dirt, and then to the dry, pale dirt of the ranch road. The sun got hotter. Cars and trucks passed him sometimes, kicking up dust. He kept walking. When the big iron gate of the Big Sky Ranch came into view, he saw there were still a few people there. Not a big crowd like yesterday. Maybe 10 or 15 people standing by the fence talking in low voices. They were waiting to see what would happen. Leo walked to the fence away from the others. He found a spot and put his hands on the warm wood. He looked at the barn. The big doors were closed. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. The awful screaming from yesterday had stopped. This quiet felt worse. Hank Miller stood in the yard with 2 of his cowboys. Their heads were close together, talking. "We can't keep waiting, boss," one cowboy said. "It's not safe for anyone." "I know that," Hank's voice carried across the yard. He sounded tired. "We'll do it before the day is over. Get Doc Evans ready." Leo's fingers tightened on the fence. Asterisk, Doc Evans asterisk. He knew that name. Doc Evans was the vet. He came for sick animals. He also came for animals that needed to be put down. Hank turned and walked toward the house, his shoulders slumped. The cowboys walked toward the barn, their faces grim. One of the men by the fence, a rancher from nearby, shook his head. "Shame," he said to his friend. "What a waste." Leo watched the barn. He thought about the horse standing in the dark stall waiting. He thought about the men coming for him. He thought about the promise he made to Deputy Maria. Then he let go of the fence. "Hey, kid, stop right there." The shout came from one of the cowboys by the barn. Leo kept walking. His bare feet made no sound on the hard-packed dirt. He walked past the men by the fence. He walked right into the middle of the ranch yard toward the big red barn. "You get back on the other side of that fence," the cowboy yelled, starting to walk toward him. Hank Miller, hearing the commotion, turned from his porch steps. He squinted. "What's this now?" He strode back into the yard. Leo did not look at them. He looked only at the closed barn doors. He could feel the eyes of everyone on him. The whispering from the fence stopped. The whole world got quiet. "Boy, you turn yourself around," Hank said, his voice a low warning. "This is no place for you." Leo stopped a few feet from the barn door. He finally looked at Hank. "You said you would pay $50,000 to the person who could calm him down." A short laugh burst from one of the cowboys. Hank just stared, his face hardening. "I said I'd pay a asterisk man asterisk who could do the job. A cowboy, not a child. Now get out of here before you get hurt." "You're going to kill him today," Leo said, not as a question. Hank's eyes flickered. He didn't answer for a moment. "That's ranch business. It's not your business. Now, for the last time." Leo turned his back on Hank Miller. He walked to the big wooden door of the barn. He put his hand on it. "Kid, don't you open that," a cowboy shouted. Leo pulled the heavy door just enough to slip inside. The door closed behind him with a soft thud. It was dark and cool inside the barn. It smelled of hay and dust and fear. Sunlight came in thin lines through the cracks in the walls. At the very end, in the last stall, a shape moved. Midnight let out a sharp, nervous huff of air. Leo could see the horse's outline now. He was pressed into the back corner, his head high, his ears pinned flat against his skull. Leo stood perfectly still, just inside the door. He did not walk forward. "Hello?" Leo said. His voice was very soft, almost lost in the big space. The horse snorted and stomped one heavy foot. "It's okay," Leo said, still not moving. "I'm not going to come over there. I'm just going to stand here." Midnight tossed his head, his mane flying. A low rumble came from his chest. "It's loud outside," Leo said, talking in a steady, quiet stream. "It's loud and people are yelling. I don't like it either. I like it quiet, like it is right now." He took one small step forward. Just one. The horse stiffened but did not rear up. "My name is Leo. I get scared sometimes too. I know what it feels like. Your heart beats too fast. You can't think. You just want everyone to go away." Another small step. And another. He was halfway down the barn aisle now. He moved slowly, like the air was thick water. Midnight watched him. The whites of his eyes still showed, but he was listening. The terrible screaming had stopped. "They're all waiting out there," Leo whispered. "But they don't understand. They think you're being bad." "I don't think you're bad. I think you're just scared. And it's okay to be scared." He was at the stall door now. He kept his hands at his sides. He did not reach for the latch. He just stood there, looking at the huge, trembling animal through the bars. "It's just you and me in here," Leo said. "No one else." Very slowly, Leo raised his right hand. He held it palm up, empty. He rested it on the top rail of the stall door, not reaching in, just letting it sit there. Midnight's nostrils flared. He stretched his neck forward just an inch, then another. His nose quivered as he sniffed the air near Leo's hand. His hot breath touched Leo's skin. Leo did not pull away. He did not move. Midnight took one heavy step forward. He lowered his great head. He nudged Leo's open hand with the soft velvet of his nose. A feeling like a warm current went through Leo's whole body. He gently turned his hand and let his fingers brush the side of the horse's face. The skin was warm and damp with sweat. Midnight let out a long, shuddering sigh. It sounded like relief. He leaned his heavy head into Leo's touch, his eyes half closing. Outside, the men were silent, pressed against the barn windows. Hank Miller pushed his way to the front, his face pale with disbelief. He saw the boy, small and still, his hand on the face of the monster horse. He saw the horse, calm and quiet, his head bowed. One of the cowboys took off his hat and held it over his chest. He shook his head, not saying a word. Leo didn't know they were watching. He just kept talking in his soft voice, telling Midnight about the quiet, about the nice smell of hay, about how the storm was over and wouldn't come back. Hank Miller stepped back from the window. He looked at the stack of money he was still holding in his own hand. He looked at the faces of his men, full of awe. He looked back through the glass at the impossible scene. He had promised $50,000, and the only one who had earned it was a barefoot boy who had walked in and simply understood. The barn door creaked open. Hank Miller stood there, the bright sunlight framing his big shape in the doorway. He stepped inside, letting the door close slowly behind him. The other men stayed outside. It was just Hank, the boy, and the horse. Leo kept his hand on Midnight's neck. The horse was quiet now, his breathing slow and even. Leo looked at Hank, waiting. Hank walked down the aisle slowly, his boots loud on the wooden floor. He stopped a few feet from the stall. He looked at Midnight. He looked at Leo. He didn't speak for a long time. "How?" Hank finally asked. His voice was rough but not angry. It was full of a genuine question. "How did you do that?" Leo thought about it. "I just talked to him." "You just talked to him," Hank repeated, as if testing the words. He shook his head. He held up the stack of money in his hand. "I made a promise. This is $50,000. It's yours." Leo looked at the money. It was more money than he had ever seen, more money than he could imagine. He looked from the cash to Hank's face. "I don't want it," Leo said. Hank's eyebrows shot up. "You don't want it? Boy, this is a life. This is a house. This is everything." "I know," Leo said softly. He patted Midnight's neck. "That's what I want it for. I want to use it to make a safe place. For him. And for me. A place where he won't be scared. A small place." Hank stared at him. He looked from the boy's serious face to the horse, who was now resting his head gently against the boy's shoulder. A powerful thought struck Hank Miller. He saw it clearly. The boy had no one. The horse had been lost. They had found each other. The money in his hand suddenly felt like the wrong tool for the job. "A place," Hank muttered. He looked around his own big barn. He thought of his big, empty house. An idea, strange and new, formed in his mind. It wasn't about money. For the first time in a long time, it wasn't about money. "You don't need to use this money for that," Hank said, his voice quieter. Leo's shoulders tightened. He thought Hank was taking the offer back. "But you said—" "I said the money is yours, and it is. But you don't need to buy a place." Hank took a step closer. "You can have a place here, right here." Leo didn't understand. "Here, on the ranch," Hank said. He pointed to the empty stall next to Midnight's. "We can clean that out, put in a cot, a little stove. You can live there. Your job will be to take care of this horse. Just him. You'll have 3 meals a day. You'll have a warm bed. No one will bother you." Leo's hand went still on Midnight's coat. He couldn't speak. A place to live, a real job, food every day. It was everything he had just asked for, but he hadn't dared to hope for it. "Why?" The word slipped out of Leo's mouth before he could stop it. Hank glanced away toward the barn window where the faces of his men were still pressed. "Because you did what 20 grown men couldn't do. You saved a valuable animal. That's worth something to this ranch. And—" he paused, choosing his words. "And it seems like you two belong together." He held the money out again. "This is still yours. You can keep it. For later." Leo slowly reached out. His small, dirty hand took the thick stack of bills. It felt heavy and strange. He looked at it, then at the stall that could be his room. He looked at Midnight. Can he be my friend? Not just my job?" Leo asked, his voice barely above a whisper. A smile, small and genuine, touched Hank's lips for the first time in days. "I think that's already true, son." Hank turned and walked to the barn door. He opened it. The cowboys and the few townsfolk were all gathered, waiting. "Show's over," Hank announced, his usual boom back in his voice. "Somebody find Ben and tell him to get a cot and a dresser for the empty stall next to Midnight. We've got a new hand on the big sky." He looked back at Leo, who was still standing with the horse in the quiet of the barn. "Get him some boots from the storehouse, too," Hank added, his voice gruff. "And a decent shirt." The crowd began to murmur and disperse, shaking their heads in wonder. Inside the barn, Leo leaned his forehead against Midnight's strong neck. He closed his eyes. He had money in his hand. He had a job. He had a friend. For the first time in more years than he could remember, Leo did not feel the cold, hollow feeling of being alone. He had a home. The first few weeks were the best of Leo's life. His small space in the stall next to Midnight was perfect. He had a cot with a real blanket. He had a lantern for light. He ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the ranch house kitchen with the other hands. No one bothered him. His days had a simple rhythm. He woke at sunrise. He fed Midnight and brushed his coat until it shone like polished coal. He cleaned the stall. Then, they would go for a walk. Not a ride with a saddle, just a walk. Leo would lead Midnight out into the big pasture, let go of the lead rope, and the horse would follow him like a giant, quiet shadow. One afternoon, they were standing by the creek. Leo was skipping flat stones across the water. Midnight dipped his head to drink. "You like it here, don't you?" Leo said to the horse. "It's quiet." Midnight lifted his head, water dripping from his muzzle. He nudged Leo's shoulder gently. "Yeah," Leo smiled. "Me too." But the quiet did not last. It started with a reporter from the Casper newspaper. Hank came to find Leo in the barn one morning. "Leo, come on out here for a minute. Bring Midnight to the main corral." "Why?" Leo asked. "Just do it, son. It's good for the ranch." Leo led Midnight out. A man with a camera was there. Hank put his hand on Leo's shoulder. "Now stand right there with him. Look at the horse. That's it." The camera flashed. Leo blinked. Midnight jumped and let out a worried snort. "It's okay," Leo whispered, rubbing the horse's neck. "Terrific," the reporter said. "The wild boy and the untamable horse. Great story, Hank." After the newspaper article came out, people started to visit. They would drive up in nice cars and ask Hank if they could see the famous pair. Hank always said yes. One Saturday, Hank walked into the barn. Leo was mucking out the stall. "Leo, I need you and Midnight in the round pen in 1 hour. We have some guests from Cheyenne. Important folks." Leo leaned on his pitchfork. "Guests for what?" "To see you," Hank said, as if it were obvious. "To see the miracle. Put his good halter on." "He doesn't like a lot of people," Leo said quietly. "He'll be fine. It's just looking. Now, 1 hour." At 3 o'clock, Leo stood in the round pen with Midnight. A group of 6 people, dressed in fine clothes, stood outside the fence. Hank was with them, talking loudly. "And this is the boy himself. Just walked right into that barn, folks. No fear. The horse was crazy, screaming, dangerous. And this little kid just talks to him. Watch this." Hank turned to Leo. "Go on, Leo. Show them how you calm him." The people stared. Their eyes felt like bugs on Leo's skin. Midnight shifted his weight, his ears flicking back and forth. "He's calm already, Mr. Miller," Leo said. "Well, act like you're calming him," Hank said, his smile tight. "Walk over to him. Talk to him like you did that first day." Leo felt a hot knot in his stomach. This was wrong. He walked slowly to Midnight and put a hand on him. He didn't say anything. There was nothing to say. "See that?" Hank boomed to the guests. "Absolute trust. You can't buy that." After 10 minutes, the people clapped. Midnight flinched at the sound. Leo led him back to the barn as fast as he could. That evening, Leo found Hank in his office. The man was counting some papers. "Mr. Miller," Leo said from the doorway. "What is it, Leo?" "Those people today. Midnight got real nervous. He doesn't like the clapping. He doesn't like being stared at like that. I don't think we should do it again." Hank put his papers down. He looked at Leo. "Leo, that story is the best thing to happen to this ranch in years. Those people drove a long way. They respect what you did. This is part of your job now. You should be grateful for the attention, and it's good for business. But it's not good for Midnight, Leo said, his voice firm. Hank's eyes hardened. That horse would be dead if it weren't for me giving you this home. You both have a duty to this ranch. We have more guests coming on Saturday, a whole family from Texas. You'll be ready, understood? Leo looked at the floor. The knot in his stomach tightened. Understood. He walked back to the barn in the dark. Midnight was restless in his stall, pacing. Leo could hear his anxious breathing. I'm sorry, Leo whispered, sliding the stall door open and going inside. He sat down in the straw, and after a moment, Midnight settled beside him, lowering his head. I tried to tell him, but he doesn't listen. He sat there in the dark, the happy quiet of the past weeks feeling like a dream that was already fading. The ranch was his home, but now it felt like a different kind of trap. A week later, the Texas family came. They brought friends. There were 15 people standing around the round pen. Hank had set up speakers that played cheerful cowboy music. Leo stood in the center with Midnight. The horse's skin twitched under Leo's hand. Every beat of the music made Midnight flinch. The people laughed and pointed. Look at his ears go, a man shouted. Can he do a trick? A boy yelled. Hank stood with them, smiling proudly. Just watch the bond, he called out. Leo felt a tremor run through Midnight's whole body. It was the same feeling from that first day in the storm, a deep, shaking fear. Leo looked over at Hank and shook his head slightly, a pleading look in his eyes. Hank's smile didn't change. He gave a small, sharp wave of his hand that meant asterisk, keep going asterisk. After what felt like forever, the people left. Leo led a trembling Midnight back to the barn. He spent the rest of the afternoon in the stall with him, talking in a low voice until the horse's breathing finally slowed. The next morning, a dusty blue truck pulled up to the ranch house. A man got out. He was thin, with a sharp face and a hat pulled low. He walked up to Hank, who was on the porch. You Hank Miller? The man asked. I am. What can I do for you? Name's Carl Meeks. I'm here about my horse. Hank frowned. Your horse? The black one, in your barn, the one you call Midnight. Leo was coming from the chicken coop with a basket of eggs. He heard the words and stopped walking, frozen in place. Hank let out a short laugh. Your horse? Mister, I bred and raised that horse on this ranch. He's never belonged to anyone named Meeks. Carl's face was calm. He pulled a folded paper from his jacket pocket. He handed it to Hank. My papers say different. He was stolen from my place in Montana 5 years ago. A yearling. I've been looking for him ever since. Hank took the paper. He unfolded it and read it. His eyes moved back and forth. His smile vanished. The paper looked old. It had official stamps. It described a black yearling colt with a small white star between his eyes. Midnight had a white star between his eyes. This could describe 100 horses, Hank said, but his voice had lost its certainty. It describes mine, Carl said firmly. He pointed to the paper. That's his brand, right there, a circle with a line through it. You check his left shoulder, you'll see it. Hank didn't move. He stared at the man. I know the brand on my horse. It's the Big Sky BS. Check, Carl repeated, his voice flat. Hank turned. His eyes found Leo, still standing like a statue with the egg basket. Leo, go check Midnight's left shoulder. Tell me what brand you see. Leo's feet felt like stone. He forced himself to move, walking slowly to the barn. Midnight was dozing. Leo went to his left side. He had brushed that spot 100 times. He knew every hair. He pushed the dark coat aside. There, on the shoulder, was the brand. It was faint, mostly hidden by muscle as the horse had grown. But it was there, a circle, with a line through it. It was not the Big Sky brand. Leo's heart dropped into his stomach. He walked back out into the sunlight. Both men looked at him. Well? Hank demanded. Leo's voice was a dry whisper. It's a circle, with a line. Hank's face went red. That's impossible. That means someone rebranded him. Someone stole him as a baby and sold him to me. He turned on Carl, anger flashing in his eyes. Why come now, after all this time? Carl shrugged, taking his paper back. Saw his picture in the paper, the famous untamable horse from Wyoming. Recognized him right off. He's mine. I'm taking him home tomorrow. I brought my trailer. You are not taking him anywhere, Hank roared. The law says I am, Carl said calmly. I got the proof. You can call the sheriff if you want. It'll just slow things down. Hank was furious, but a shadow of doubt was in his eyes. The paper looked real. The brand was real. Leo watched, the basket of eggs heavy in his hand. He looked at Carl Meeks's cold eyes. He thought of midnight in a trailer, taken to a strange place by this man who only saw property, not a heart. A terrible cold fear, sharper than any he had ever felt, closed around his own heart. His only friend was about to be taken away. The argument raged for another hour. Hank's face got darker. Carl's voice stayed cool and sure. Finally, Hank threw his hands up. We'll let the law settle this. Deputy Gonzalez is coming out tomorrow morning. You show her your papers. I'll show her my bills of sale. We'll see who's right. Fine by me, Carl said. He tipped his hat. I'll be at the motel in town. I'll be back with my trailer at 9 o'clock tomorrow. He got in his truck and drove away, leaving a cloud of dust. Hank kicked the porch steps so hard the wood cracked. He saw Leo still standing there. Go put those eggs in the kitchen, he barked. Then stay in the barn. I don't want to see anyone. Leo did as he was told. He walked into the big, quiet house and left the basket on the counter. His mind was screaming one thought. Asterisk 9 o'clock tomorrow. He went back to the barn. Midnight was awake now, pacing again. Leo slid into the stall and sat in the corner. Midnight came over and lowered his head, resting his heavy chin on Leo's knees. He's going to take you away, Leo whispered, his fingers threading through the horse's forelock. That man, he doesn't love you. He just wants you because you're famous now, or because he's mean. Leo thought about the law. Deputy Maria was fair, but what if the papers were real? The brand was real. The law might give Midnight to Carl. The thought made Leo feel sick. He could not let that happen. He would not. As the sun went down, a ranch hand named Ben came into the barn to check the water troughs. Ben was an older man with a kind face. He had given Leo an extra blanket when he first moved in. Heard about the trouble? Ben said softly, looking at Leo curled up in the straw. Leo nodded but didn't speak. That fella Carl, he's got a mean look to him, Ben said, filling the trough. Not the kind of man an animal should go with. Leo looked up. Do you think the deputy will let him take Midnight? Ben was quiet for a long time. If the papers are right, she might have to. The law's the law. The finality in Ben's voice sealed Leo's decision. The law could not help. Hank could not help. It was just him. Ben? Leo's voice was very small. Yeah, son? What if we weren't here tomorrow at 9 o'clock? Ben stopped what he was doing. He looked at Leo. He saw the desperate resolve in the boy's eyes. He looked at the horse, whose head was still resting trustingly on the boy's lap. He sighed, a heavy sound full of understanding. That would be a terrible thing, Ben said slowly. A boy and a valuable horse, gone in the night. It would be wrong. He paused. But if someone, say, left the side gate to the back pasture unlocked by accident, well, a person could get a long way into the national forest land before anyone knew they were gone. Leo's heart began to pound. That back gate, is it hard to open? It's heavy, but it's just a latch. No padlock. Ben picked up his bucket. He walked to the barn door. He didn't look back when he spoke. I finish my rounds at midnight. I go to bed. I sleep sound. I don't hear a thing until morning. Then he was gone. Leo did not sleep. He waited. The barn got darker and quieter. He listened to the sounds of the ranch settling down. He heard the last of the hands go to their bunkhouse. He heard the lights go off in the big house. When it was so dark he could barely see his own hand, he got up. He put Midnight's halter on. He did not take a saddle or a blanket. He led the horse out of the stall, his footsteps silent on the dirt floor. They walked out of the barn into the cool night. The sky was full of stars. Leo led Midnight around the back of the corrals, staying in the shadows. His heart beat in his ears. Every rustle of grass sounded like a shout. They reached the back pasture gate. It was just as Ben had said, a heavy metal latch. Leo lifted it with both hands. It clicked open. He pushed the gate just wide enough for them to slip through. He looked back once at the dark shapes of the ranch buildings. Then he turned toward the black wall of trees that marked the beginning of the wilderness. He clicked his tongue softly. "Come on, Midnight," he whispered. Together, the boy and the horse walked into the deep, waiting woods. Hours later, the first pink light of dawn touched the kitchen window of the ranch house. Hank Miller, who had also not slept, was making coffee. He walked to the window and looked out toward the barn. Something felt wrong. It was too quiet. He walked outside, his boots crunching on the gravel. He went to the barn. The big door was closed. He pulled it open. Midnight's stall was empty. The stall next to it, Leo's stall, was also empty. The cot was neatly made. The $50,000 was gone from under the pillow where Leo kept it. Hank stood there for a full minute, staring at the empty space. A storm of feelings raged in his chest. Fury, but underneath it, a cold splash of shame. He knew exactly why they were gone. He walked back to the house, his steps heavy. He picked up the phone. He dialed the number for the sheriff's office. "This is Hank Miller out at the Big Sky. I need to report a theft. A boy named Leo. He stole my horse." The phone call came into the sheriff's office just after 6 in the morning. Deputy Maria Gonzalez listened, her expression turning from tired to focused. "I understand, Mr. Miller. A boy and a horse. And you're sure he didn't just go for an early ride?" She paused, listening. "I see. And the man from Montana, Carl Meeks, was supposed to come at 9 o'clock? Yes. I'll be out there shortly." She hung up and grabbed her hat. She drove to the Big Sky Ranch with the sunrise in her eyes. Hank was waiting in the yard. He looked older, she thought. "They're gone," he said without greeting. The boy took him. "The money's gone too. $50,000. "Show me," Maria said. She followed him to the barn. She saw the empty stalls. She saw the neat cot. It didn't look like the bed of a panicked thief. "Why would he run, Hank?" Maria asked, turning to face him. "He was scared of that man Meeks, scared he'd take the horse." "And were you going to let that happen?" Hank's eyes shifted away. The law would have decided. The boy didn't give it a chance. Now he's a thief. Maria looked at him for a long moment. She saw the anger, but she also saw the shame he was trying to hide. "I'll organize a search, but I'm not putting out an alert for a criminal. I'm putting out an alert for a missing child, a 12-year-old boy alone in the wilderness. That's what this is." She got on the radio in her car. She called in 2 other deputies. She called the local Forest Service station. By 8 o'clock, a search party was forming at the ranch gate. Carl Meeks arrived in his truck and trailer right at 9. "What's all this?" Carl asked, looking at the gathered trucks and men. "The horse is missing," Maria said, stepping toward him. "The boy you spooked took him and ran last night." Carl's sharp face tightened. "Well, that's just great. So the thief gets away with my property?" "Right now, my concern is finding a child before he gets hurt," Maria said firmly. "You can wait, or you can help look." Carl just sneered and got back in his truck to wait. Deep in the trees, Leo was cold. The night had been long and frightening. Every noise was a bear or a mountain lion to him. He had huddled against Midnight's warm side for comfort. Now, in the daylight, the forest was less scary but very big. He had no food. He had a little money in his pocket. But money couldn't buy sandwiches in the woods. He found a stream and they both drank. The water was icy and clear. "We have to keep going," he told Midnight. "We have to go so far they can't find us." They walked for hours. Leo's new boots, a gift from Hank, rubbed blisters on his heels. He tried to remember the way Ben had once pointed to the mountains, saying a person could get lost forever in them. By afternoon, he was so hungry his stomach hurt. He saw some bushes with dark berries. He was scared they were poison. He ate a few anyway. They were sour and made his mouth dry. He found a small, open meadow with grass for Midnight and a big rock to sit against. He was so tired. He used his jacket as a pillow and fell into a fitful sleep with Midnight grazing nearby. He dreamed of the ranch kitchen, of a plate of hot eggs and toast. Back at the search headquarters, Deputy Maria studied a map. One of the forest rangers pointed. "If a kid went out the back gate, the most logical path is following this creek bed. It provides water and some cover. It leads up into the higher forest." "And if he's not thinking logically?" Maria asked. "If he's just scared?" "Then he could be anywhere," the ranger admitted. Maria looked over at Hank, who was pacing. Carl Meeks was smoking by his trailer, looking impatient. Mr. Miller, Maria called. Walk with me. They walked a short distance away from the others. When you found Leo in the barn with Midnight that first day, what did you see? Hank stopped pacing. I saw a miracle. I saw a boy who wasn't afraid. Why wasn't he afraid? Hank thought about it. Because he saw the horse wasn't angry, just scared. He knew how to talk to that. And after you brought him here, Maria pressed. Was he happy? At first, yes. Then, the shows. The shows, Maria repeated. The ones for your important guests. How did Midnight like those? Hank didn't answer. He looked at the ground. A scared animal and a scared boy, Maria said softly. You gave them a home, Hank. But then you made their fear into a show. And now a man shows up with papers threatening to take it all away. What did you expect him to do? Hank still said nothing. The truth of her words was a heavy weight. I'm going to find him, Maria said. But I'm not just bringing back your property. I'm bringing back a child. And I'm going to listen to his story. All of it. She turned and walked back to her car, leaving Hank standing alone in the dust, staring at the vast wild land where the boy and the horse were hiding. The forest was a sea of green and brown, but Deputy Maria Gonzalez was looking for breaks in the pattern. A snapped branch, a hoofprint in the soft mud near the creek. She had left the main search party behind, trusting her own eyes. She walked for over an hour, following the creek bed upward. Then she saw it, a patch of grass in a small meadow that was flattened, as if a large animal had been lying down, and near a big rock, a small, faded blue jacket. She knelt and picked it up. It was Leo's. She stood and scanned the trees. Leo, she called out, her voice firm but not loud. Leo, it's Deputy Gonzalez. You're not in trouble. I just need to know you're okay. Only the wind answered. She waited, listening. Then from a thicket of pine trees about 50 yards away, she heard a soft, nervous whicker, a horse's sound. She walked slowly toward the trees. It's just me, Leo. It's Maria. I'm alone. She pushed through the low branches. There, in a small, hidden clearing, stood Midnight, and curled at the horse's feet, trying to make himself small, was Leo. His face was smudged with dirt. His eyes were wide and fearful. Hey, Leo, Maria said, stopping where she was. She did not move closer. Did you come to take us back? Leo's voice was hoarse. I came to find you because I was worried, Maria said. She sat down on a fallen log, making herself smaller, less official. A boy alone out here can get hurt. So can a horse. Are you hungry? Leo nodded, a quick, jerky motion. Maria took a granola bar from her pocket. She held it out. Come get it. I'm not going to grab you. Leo glanced at Midnight, then slowly stood up. He walked over and took the bar. He tore it open and ate it in 3 big bites. Thank you, he mumbled. You're welcome. Now, do you want to tell me why you're out here? The real reason. Leo looked at the ground. Carl was going to take him, at 9 o'clock. I know, but the law was going to decide that. Running away makes it look like you stole him. He would have taken him away. Leo's head snapped up, his eyes bright with tears. You didn't see his eyes. He doesn't care about Midnight. He just wants to win. And Hank would have let it happen. He cares about the papers and the law, not about Midnight. What about Hank? Maria asked gently. The story poured out of Leo then. The quiet walks, then the people coming, the music, the clapping, how Midnight's skin would twitch for hours afterward, how he tried to tell Hank, but Hank wouldn't listen. He said it was my job. He said I should be grateful. Leo finished, his shoulders slumping. But it was hurting my friend. And then Carl came, and I saw the brand. I got so scared, so we ran. Maria listened to every word. She watched his face. She saw no lie there, only a deep, tired fear. Okay, she said softly. Okay, Leo, I hear you. What happens now? He whispered. Now you and Midnight come back with me. You're not under arrest. You're a lost kid I found. But we have to sort this out, and to do that, I need to see those papers of Carl's myself. Can you trust me to do that? Leo looked at Midnight. The horse nudged him gently with his nose. Leo took a deep breath. Yes. An hour later, Maria led Leo and Midnight out of the woods to a Forest Service road where her patrol car and a horse trailer waited. She drove them not to the ranch, but to the sheriff's office in Bison Creek. She settled Leo in a chair in her office with a sandwich and a glass of milk. Then she went to the front desk where Carl Meeks was waiting impatiently. "You found him. Good. Where's my horse?" Carl demanded. "The horse is safe. Let me see those papers again, Mr. Meeks, for our official report." Carl handed them over with a smug look. Maria took them to her desk. She looked at them for a long time. She held them up to the light. She compared the font to other old documents in her filing cabinet. She picked up her phone and made a call. She spoke to someone in the records office of Carbon County, Montana. She read numbers from the paper. She listened. She thanked them and hung up. She walked back out to Carl. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "These are interesting papers, Mr. Meeks. The registration number you have here? The folks in Montana say it belongs to a bay mare who died of colic 8 years ago. This brand, the circle with a line, it was recorded as out of use over a decade ago. And this paper," she tapped it, "it's the wrong weight for official documents from that year. It's a good fake, but it's still a fake." Carl's face went pale, then red. "That's a lie. You don't know what you're talking about." "I do," Maria said evenly. "I know fraud when I see it. You saw a famous horse in the paper and thought you could make a claim with some forged documents. You thought a rich rancher might just pay you to go away, or you'd get a valuable animal. You are under arrest." She snapped handcuffs on his wrists before he could say another word. As she led the sputtering man to a cell, she looked through the window of her office. Leo was asleep in the chair, exhausted, a half-eaten sandwich in his lap. She had the truth. Now she had to see what Hank Miller would do with it. Deputy Maria Gonzalez found Hank Miller on the porch of the ranch house. He was sitting in a chair, not doing anything, just staring at the mountains. He looked up when she pulled in. "Did you find them?" he asked, his voice tired. "I found them. Leo's safe. Midnight's safe. I have Carl Meeks in a cell. His papers were fakes. He was trying to steal your horse." Hank let out a long breath. He nodded, but he didn't look happy. "And the boy?" "The boy is why I'm here," Maria said, walking up the steps. She leaned against the porch rail, facing him. "He told me everything, Hank, about the shows, the music, the crowds, how Midnight would shake for hours, how he begged you to stop." Hank's jaw tightened. "It was good for business. People wanted to see them." "They're not a show," Maria said, her voice firm but quiet. "They're a boy and a horse who found each other because they were both broken. You gave them a home. Then you put their worst fear on display for applause." She paused. "You called it a theft when they ran, but what did you really think he was doing?" Hank didn't answer for a full minute. He looked at his rough hands. "I thought he was saving his friend," he finally muttered. "Yes, he was. From a man with fake papers. And from you." Maria stood up straight. "So here's where you are, Hank. You can be the man who got his valuable property back, the man who teaches the orphan boy a hard lesson about gratitude and law. Or you can be something else. The choice is yours." She turned and walked back to her car. She didn't wait for an answer. An hour later, Deputy Maria brought Leo and Midnight back to the ranch. Leo was clean now, wearing a spare shirt from the office. He looked small and scared walking into the yard. Hank was waiting by the barn. He walked toward them. Leo stopped, his hand tightening on Midnight's lead rope. Hank stopped a few feet away. He looked at Leo, then at the horse, then at the ground. "Deputy Gonzalez told me what you said," Hank began, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "About the shows, about the music. I didn't listen to you. That was wrong." Leo just watched him, silent. "I got caught up," Hank continued. "I saw people like the story. I saw they would pay to see it. I forgot what the story really was. It wasn't about a wild horse. It was about being quiet. It was about not being afraid anymore." He looked Leo in the eyes. "I made you both afraid again. I'm sorry, Leo." The words hung in the air. They were simple, but they were real. "What happens now?" Leo asked, echoing his question from the woods. Hank took a deep breath. "Now I make you a promise. In front of the deputy here, so it's official. Midnight will never have to do a show again, not ever. His job is to be your friend, and your only job is to be his friend and to be a kid. No more crowds, no more music, just you and him." A tiny spark of hope lit in Leo's chest. "You mean it?" "I mean it," Hank said. He glanced at the barn. "But you're not living in a stall anymore. That's no house for a kid." He pointed to a flat, sunny spot under a cottonwood tree, not far from the main house. "I'm going to use that prize money, the $50,000. I'm going to build a proper little house right there, for you, your own place, with a window that looks out to Midnight's pasture." Leo's breath caught. He looked from the spot to Hank's face, searching for a trick. He saw only a tired sincerity. "You do that?" Leo whispered. "With the money?" "It's your money," Hank said. "You said you wanted to use it to make a safe place. This is the safest place I know, this ranch, with us." Leo let go of Midnight's rope. He took 2 steps forward and did something he had never done before. He wrapped his arms around Hank Miller in a tight, quick hug. Then he stepped back, his face flushed. Hank was stunned for a second. Then he put a heavy, gentle hand on the boy's shoulder. "Go on, put him in his pasture. He's probably hungry for some good grass." Leo nodded, a real smile breaking through. He led Midnight away toward the green field. Deputy Maria walked over to stand next to Hank. They watched the boy open the gate and watched the horse run, free and easy, into the open space. "A house, huh?" Maria said. "A house," Hank confirmed, his voice thick. "A real one, with a door that locks from the inside." He was quiet for a moment. "My father, he lost everything trying to look big for other people. I spent my whole life making sure that wouldn't happen to me. I thought that meant building something nobody could ignore, something that proved I wasn't him." He shook his head slowly. "Turns out the thing worth building is a lot smaller and quieter." In the pasture, Leo climbed up on the fence rail to watch his friend. The late afternoon sun was warm. The only sound was the wind in the grass and the soft crunch of a happy horse grazing. It was quiet, and for the first time, it felt like a quiet that would last.